Are you one of the many aspiring authors I encounter who think, I cannot read too much right now because I don't want to steal someone's voice, I don't want to plagiarize them, and I definitely do not want to read in the genre that I'm writing in because then I might discover my book's already been written? If any of this sounds familiar to you, you must watch this video. My name's Kelly Notaras. I'm the founder of KN Literary Arts. We are your one-stop shop, getting you from wherever you are to having a book in your hand. So please visit us at knliterary.com. I've also been a book editor in the U.S. publishing business for over 25 years, and I bring all the wisdom I have learned in that time for free to this YouTube channel. So please hit the subscribe button and that little bell icon so you never miss a video. Today, I am talking about something that I love talking about because so often I find that there are these very simple rules that everyone in the publishing business knows that my aspiring authors don't know. One of those rules is that successful authors read their competition. Successful authors, in fact, read a bit of everything. People who want to write books are always reading books. But more often than not, they're reading the books that are their competition. They're excited to do so. They feel inspired by them. They want to read more and more deeply on the bookshelf where their own book or books will sit. So why do I so often hear from my wonderful aspiring authors, I can't do it, I absolutely can't do it. Here are all the reasons why reading would be the wrong thing for me. Look, I get it. I do understand. It can be intimidating to look at these authors who've been writing for years. They've been building their platform and their voice and their audience. And you might think, oh no, I'm going to feel like just a small fry if I read my competition. Or I'm going to end up plagiarizing all of these authors if I do that. Or I'm going to find out somehow that there's not room for me out there. I'll tell you that all of these fears are valid, but they are also false because there are really important ways that you as a writer need to be making use of the books that are on the bookshelf that you want your book to go on, where it's actually not just a good thing to do it, but it's absolutely critical that you be the expert in the other books that are in your genre. And I'm going to talk to you about the ways that successful authors read other books so that you can take those tips and tricks and bring them into your own book. So first and foremost, successful authors are always reading their competition because they know that they don't exist in a vacuum. If they want their book to be widely read, they need to be aware of the books that are being published today and the books that are being widely read. They need to be as much of an expert on those topics as the agent or publisher that they want to support them in their book journey. Like if you were to show up at a publisher with your book proposal all polished and they were interested in it, and then they asked you about a New York Times bestselling author who's writing on a similar topic and you don't know who they are or you haven't read the book, that is not going to make a good impression on the publisher, certainly not on the agent that you're working with. They need to believe that you are taking the book writing process as seriously as a full-time job. And if you were launching your own small business, you would know who the competition was in your town, right? Your town, when it comes to the book, is that bookshelf that you belong on, and you need to know what else is there so that you can be informed. And yes, I always hear this fear that if I read my competition, I'll end up plagiarizing them or stealing their voice. And here is my antidote to that. Read so deeply in the bookshelf that you couldn't possibly plagiarize one person or steal one person's voice. You have read so many books that you really deeply have a synthesis inside of you of all of the different books that are on the bookshelf. And when you sit down to write, it will come out as you. The second important tip I have for you for reading like an author is to look for the scaffolding in the books that you are reading that are your competition. What do I mean by scaffolding? I mean the structure that they are using to support their arguments or their story. Because these books have already been deemed good enough to be published. I mean, unless you're working with a self-published competition, which you might be. But if you're working with the competition that's traditionally published, many people have said this is a great book. And a great book starts with a great, strong structure. If you are writing a novel or a memoir, it may be the 3-act structure that is ubiquitous in the movie business. This is something you will want to familiarize yourself with. There are many books out there that you can be reading that will help you with that. But reading other books that are in your genre will show show you? Where do the tension points come in? What parts of the book are about pleasant things? What parts of the book get the volume turned up on the conflict? How does that work? Jot down the structure you notice in other people's books, that scaffolding. And if you're writing nonfiction that's not a story driven, how are they outlining each chapter? More often than not, if it's a prescriptive book, i.e. a book that is going to be telling you how to do something, each chapter will be keeping roughly the same form. That's what an editor loves. Maybe it'll have an opening story, and then it'll have a teaching point, and then it will have a client story, and then it will have another teaching point, and then there'll be an exercise at the end. Look for that scaffolding. Look for it in a number of different books by a number of different authors, and you will start getting more information about how the different variety of ways you yourself might structure your book. It is a learning opportunity that no successful writer is going to turn down. Maybe the writers that are, writing prolifically and, in the maturity of their career aren't doing that anymore, but they were when they were learning how to write. They were understanding what is working out there, what are the options I have, and they learned that by reading other people's successful books. The third tip I have for reading like a writer or an author is to constantly be asking yourself as you read, where can I complement the genre, this bookshelf that is full of books that people in the publishing business have deemed to be very useful and hopefully have been successful. How can my book complement this genre? That will help inform you on exactly how you pitch the book, how you take the information you've learned and spin it slightly different so that it fits into a niche that hasn't yet been filled. In that way, you're setting yourself up for a big yes from an agent and a publisher. They'll say, oh, wow, your book is a lot like these books, but it's new in this particular way. And you can just be like, yeah, I know that because I designed it that way because I read my competition and I learned what's already out there and working. You can fly on the coattails of successful books in your genre, on your topic, but you make space for yourself in spite of those books by giving it a unique spin. And the way you can figure out what is that complementary spin is to know your bookshelf deeply. Finally, the tip I'm going to give you for how you can use reading to help inspire you and keep you going on your writing journey is to start visualizing your book on that bookshelf with all of these wonderful books you've been reading and learning about. You don't have to look at the bookshelf and say, oh, there's so much there, there's no room for me. You can look at the bookshelf and say, oh my gosh, there are so many great books there. I can't wait for my great book to join them. It's only a matter of time for my book to join that bookshelf. Visualize your name on the spine of that book, on that bookshelf next to these big successful authors who you were previously intimidated by, but now you've mined their work for information about what's working, for their scaffolding, for figuring out the best niche or hook for your book. You have made use of these titles rather than being intimidated by them. And now, having done that, you can visualize your own book right there on the bookshelf with them. And as you know, what you can make real in your mind almost inevitably can be made real into the world. So make that bookshelf real with your book on it. And hopefully down the line, I will get to see your book sitting right there. That's what I want more than anything. I hope this video has helped inspire you to get to your local bookstore and really do the research and read deeply into your bookshelf. Boy, what fun you have ahead of you. If you love this genre so much you want to write a book in it, you have so many amazing books that you're going to get to explore and experience on your way to becoming an author. I look forward to hearing how that's working for you. All right, my friends, please keep writing, and I'll look forward to seeing your book sitting on the bookshelf among all of your peers very soon.